Okay, we're back, guys. Okay.
Great that you've come to the UK, yeah? Because you need to take a warning back to the United States of America. Because what you're looking at here is your future. And do you know how quickly it comes? Like that. No one is allowed to talk about it, stop it, criticise it. Literally, you get crushed. I was demonised, I was slandered. Now, everyone knows I was telling the truth. Your culture, everything that you hold dear, you're giving up for them. What would they give up for you? What does Tucker Carlson know about living in a Pakistani town?
Hey, Di!
My town's Pakistan. There's only one thing they understand, and that's that. They understand strength. There's no solution without chaos to this problem. The chaos is that when you try to enforce the law against any Islamic community in Europe, you're going to see the countries burn. You're going to have a war. You're going to have a war.
This is Tommy Robinson. He's leading a movement of millions to unite the kingdom. If you remember the huge march through London just a couple of months ago, that was Tommy leading it. To some, he's a truth teller, exposing stories the media won't touch. To others, he's a symbol of division. But regardless of your view, his impact on British culture and the West is undeniable. In this interview, you will see Tommy Robinson like you've never seen him before. Welcome back to the Nate Friedman Show. Tommy, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
No problem.
It means a lot. So, look, I want to talk about just what is your vision and what are you doing to achieve it?
What is my vision? So I'm born in Luton, which is a town 30 miles north of London. When I was born in 1982, there was one mosque. There's now 45.
I must have missed that channel, Di.
So rather than talk about what my vision is, talk about the vision of the UK, the future of the UK. Now, Luton is a blueprint for every town and city. So as I've grown up in Luton, I've witnessed the rise in anti-Semitism. All the Jews are gone. The homophobia, the hostility towards our women, the rapes, the terrorism, the jihad. I've seen it all. I've seen as Islam has grown, I've seen the police's inability and the council's inability and everyone's inability to deal with it. They all just hide from it. They pretend it's not there. They don't just pretend it's not there, actually. They crush anyone who tries to raise the alarm about the problems that this brings. Because the problems that come with mass open border immigration are the problems I've seen in my hometown. Now,
yeah, babe, it sounds like Mount Druitt. That's our shithole in Sydney suburbs. Full of islanders, full of Sudanese.
They are all down to
all antisocial people.
Government failure and policy failure of allowing in Islamic migrants in their millions. So that's what I've seen. I know Luton's a blueprint for the rest of the country. I've seen the more Islam, the less freedom. The more Islam, the more violence. Afghanis are 22 times more likely to rape in the UK than other nationalities. In 2003, we had 8,800 rapes. In 2023, we had 88,000 rapes. Now, this growth...
Who, Skank went live? Has he got his own channel or is he someone else's channel you recommended?
Is a perfect line with mass open border immigration and Islamic immigration. It's to do with the Islamic growth. You can literally draw a graph and it fits perfectly. The same with Sweden. Now, if we take that graph and we look another 20 years ahead at the same growth, we're talking about nearly 1 million women being raped. That's what we're looking at. So this is the growth of Islam. So my vision and all I've tried to do is raise awareness. It's like a cry for help. I started a street protest movement in 2009, which was to go out on the streets and say to the rest of the country, look, I don't think you quite understand what's happening here.
Wow.
I was demonized.
He's been on it since 2009. Wow.
I was slandered. I was attacked, called a fearmonger when I started this in 2009. Now, everyone knows I was telling the truth. Unfortunately, the problem has spread across the whole country. Any town and city you visit now, you'll witness the problems I spoke about.
I wonder what the breaking news is, Di.
Luton, my hometown. Now they're everywhere. Rapes, attacks, terrorism, jihad. No one's safe. Women aren't safe. All of this, non-integration, non-assimilation. There's no assimilation from the Islamic community. Now, I talk about my experience because I'm from Luton, where everyone are sons of immigrants. My mother was an Irish immigrant. Most of my friends, St. Lucian, Bulgarian, Italian, Jamaican. We all get along. It all works okay. Islam, it's like oil and water. You're mixing oil and water. So my vision has always been to try and highlight it, try and even talk. You can't even talk about it. We're getting there now, but you couldn't talk about it. I've been imprisoned, attacked, deplatformed, censored from every social media. I've spent 2 years of my life on solitary confinement for work, for my journalism, in trying to highlight these crimes, in trying to highlight, to make the public aware. This is coming to a town near you. Now, great that you've come to the UK, yeah? Because you need to take a warning back to the United States of America. Because what you're looking at here is your future. What Joe Biden done with your borders over the last 8 years, what's happened over the last 8 years, you used to moan, I used to watch Americans moan about Mexican immigration and Hispanic immigration. I used to laugh. I used to think, you ain't got a clue. You don't have a clue. Yeah? Now what you've just allowed in, Somalian, Afghani, Pakistani, Syrian, Iraqi, God help you. It's coming. And do you know how quickly it comes? Like that.
He's right, it is coming. They hate the West, and they specifically hate America. And Biden let them all in, as many as they could cram in.
Now, even our government have just 5 children on average. So I don't think people understand. When you're looking at the future of our country, it's trouble. We're in massive trouble. Because you only have to look 30 years ahead. Someone born now, in 25 years' time, due to the birth rate, in their age group of peers, they will be a minority in this country as an English person. They will be a minority to Muslims in 25 years. Like that. So that's the warning. So all I've ever tried to do is give a warning to say, and I wish, I traveled to the United States of America in 2010. I illegally entered your country. Stupid move. I knew it was wrong, but I felt the message I had was that important. I gave a speech called A Warning to America in New York in 2010. Dig up the speech. And I said to Americans, I wish someone come to my country 30 years ago and told me what was going to happen. I'm not telling you about what I've read in a book. I'm not telling you about some experience that someone told me about. I'm telling you about my life experience. I've grown up in Luton Town. Luton Town was named by the CIA as the epicenter of terrorist activity. It's the home. The kids that went and fought and died for ISIS I went to school with. Terrorists and conviction after terrorists. I know them all. My friends have converted. My childhood friends have converted to become terrorists. White boys. The prison system has been taken over. The entire prison system, from one end of the country to the other, every prison. The last prison I was in, 40% Muslim population. 40%. They only make up 6%.
Our maximum security jails in New South Wales, they separate the races. Like the Islanders get their own yard. The whites and the Chinese, they put the Chinese in with us. But the Muslims have got their own yard as well.
The UK, 40% of the prison.
They all play backgammon.
Control everything. They control the streets, control the prisons, control everything. Everything.
So I want to ask about a lot of that. But most recently, you just said that your childhood friends were converted to terrorism.
Yeah.
Why?
He went to prison as an armed robber, and he come out a jihadi. Because when you go into prison, everyone is converted. Yeah, there's no fight back. In fact, you can follow me if you want. I'm going after this to the city of Birmingham to tell the story of the men who tried to stop the Islamic takeover. One of my next documentaries is going to be telling the story of how the prison system crushed any resistance to Islam. There was a resistance at one point. A group of men tried to resist the Islamic gangs, the domination, the forced conversion. They tried to fight back, and they've been crushed. They're sitting on solitary confinement for years and years, just rotting away in the dungeons of prisons. And because they tried to stop Islam. Because no one is allowed to talk about it, stop it, criticize it. Literally, you get crushed.
Welcome back, Big Stink. What's the breaking news, mate? Can you let us know?
It's the same way I've been crushed on the outside, prisoners were crushed on the inside. So I just think that everyone converts in prison. It's the biggest gang in prison. It dominates prison. It's a safety mechanism. It's a weapon. And it's going to do the same to the American prison system. And just see how easily they'll convert the blacks. The blacks are all common size. They've done it here. All the young black gangs in my hometown, Luton, all now Muslim gangs. All of them, every one of them. Isn't it? The London gang, look, Birmingham, the city I'm going to now, 2 big black gangs, the Burger Boys and the Johnsons, the biggest gangs, all are now Muslim. Within 15 years. They've gone from totally non-Muslim to entire gangs, street gangs, and now
100%. You know, the biker clubs like Comancheros, Hell's Angels, clubs like that. Our Muslims have taken over all the bike clubs, and they do all they're just very criminally minded.
all Muslim. It's because it's the
And
biggest.
apparently the American, like I know a guy whose dad was president of the Finks, I think it was, which is up Newcastle. And we were talking about it. And he said, well, originally the bikers were for white supremacists, and now they're letting in the Muslims and the people back in America who organised this franchise. They're filthy on Australia. I don't blame them.
Rebellion against the system. If you're in prison, you've been wronged your whole life, you want to fight against the system, what will fight against the system? Islam. And Islam will welcome you in.
So what is the way out? And I asked that meaning that
News.
when I went to Whitechapel, I didn't see many people that looked like me. The statistics I read, something like 40% Muslim, it felt more like 90,
Yeah, it's a
95.
lie. Forget
Yeah,
the statistics,
yeah.
it's all bullshit.
It felt, when I was walking the street, it didn't feel anything like that. It felt more like 90, 95%. And I spoke to a lot of people on the street. One of them said, right outside a mosque, he said that
we respect the West and their culture,
yeah,
and Islam has their own culture and their way of life.
yeah. Another person said, we came here because there's democracy here, but we don't have democracy in Muslim majority countries.
So Muslims will use democracy to end.
Well, stay back home in your country and fight for democracy, you cowards.
That's it. What you've just seen happen in New York, it doesn't matter how bad he is now in his next term. It does not matter. Because people, 30 years ago, New Yorkers, it's all changed. New York's population has changed. They're no longer voting on politics, they're voting on identity. He's been voted in on identity, same as Sadiq Khan is in London, Ahmed, who's a total failure. Look at crime. Every failed statistic, it doesn't matter, still gets voted in. It does not matter. He's a Muslim, he's getting voted in. Yeah. Now, those same politics, which is Muslim vote bank politics, are being played across our country. Our whole last election was about Gaza. And we elected 5 independent pro-Hamas fascist Islamist politicians. That's what we've now elected. That's the start. And that's now, when 6% of the country is Muslim, this is the power they now hold. And you see your swing states in the United States of America. See if they get big Muslim swings in those states. They will dictate to Republicans or Democrats. The bloc Muslim vote, because they block themselves like a military fashion, will be able to negotiate with Republicans and the Democrats if they can swing the vote. And then they will hold ultimate power. And at that point, like in my hometown, for example, in Luton, in 2013, I did the projected growth forecast. I've got 3 kids, I'm looking at my town, projected growth population forecast by 2030. So in 17 years, the Pakistani and Bangladeshi community were going to increase by 70 to 77%. The white and black by 1.2 to 1.4. That is why we're irrelevant. So in towns and cities like that now, we, working class, white English people, and this will happen to you in America, it's already happened in Michigan, it's already happening in certain places, this will happen, you will become irrelevant. Because the way the Labour Party, your Democrat Party, keep power is through the bloc Muslim vote. At which point, in my local town, the local council will do a deal with the leader of the council of mosques. So that will secure them 40,000 votes. What do you want for 40,000 votes? Now, even Nigel Farage, who's meant to be our next leader, who's going to be our next leader, who's meant to be opposed to all this, he's already said in an interview, the Islamic demographic by 2050 is so strong in this country, we cannot alienate Islam. Now, how do you not alienate Islam? By surrendering to it. Because if you want to deal with this problem, you're going to alienate Islam. So when you're saying, what can we do? Well, we can start by ending Islamic immigration. It doesn't work at all. It just does not work. Yeah? If we need immigrants, if this country needs immigrants and hard-working immigrants, then just look at the statistics of crime and look at the statistics of work rate from the Muslim population. They don't work anyway, per se. They're 6% of the...
They're all out here on the dole, unemployment benefits. They rot the system as much as they can. And you know what? These have been coming over since the 80s, the Lebanese Muslims. But at the same time, the Lebanese Christians come over as well. And you see them, and they're lovely people. You see the Lebanese Muslims, and they're horrible people, but they're the same people. That's the dogma infecting their heads.
Country responsible for 18% of the prison population, 3 times more likely. All of the crimes, all the rape gangs, Muslim men make up 3% of the UK population. They're responsible for 90% of the convictions of groups of men that rape kids. 30% of the men convicted are called Mohammed. We have 40,000 British Muslims on a terror watch list. 40,000. That's an army on a terror watch list. 3,000 of them are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That costs us £9 billion a year. Now, all of these little problems, Pakistanis make up 3% of the UK population. They're
Round them up and send them home, and you won't have to do that.
responsible for 33% of the child defects at birth because of cousin marriage. Now, all these problems, maybe you can deal with them when 1% of the country is a minority population. But as it becomes 6%, it's not 6%. You've seen that today in Tower Hamlets. Ignore the figures. It's total bullshit. I sat down my imam in Luton, the main imam, and I said, how many are there? 40,000 Muslims? He said, double it. He said, double this. He said, come on, Tommy. He laughed at me. I said, I know. He goes, double it all. So whatever the figures they're giving us, we can double. So say we're 8%. Well, you've walked around this country now, yeah? Everyone's seen the riots, everyone's seen the violence, everyone's seen the rapes. Look at the statistics, look at the crime stats, look at the hotels, just look at all of it, yeah? What is this going to be like when they get to 20%? Now, I'm not rolling a dice with the future of my kids and country, and this isn't their country. Now, for too long, we've been too ashamed to even say that. This is not your country from Somalia. You can go home. Yeah? Pakistanis, go back to Pakistan, can't you? Syrians, go back to Syria. Where are we going to go? Where, as an Englishman, am I going to go? Where are my kids going to go? When they become a minority, when violence is so bad, when my daughter can't walk the streets.
I think this guy is a great warrior. I really do. I think he's a great warrior.
Because they can't walk the streets. In those areas, they cannot walk the streets at night. They're coming under hostile, violent, barbarian-style rapes across the nation. So what is the solution? End Islamic immigration. You can start deporting the over a million illegals that we have here. You could take every criminal. I think we've got 12,000 foreign criminals in our prison system. They can go. Everyone on the terror watch list, they can go. Pakistanis can go back to Pakistan. Syrians can go back to Syria. Afghanis can go back to Afghanistan. Where are we as English people meant to go? Because at the minute, everyone's leaving. If you look at the rates, 500,000 Brits left last year. People are fleeing. Anyone with money is leaving. I know my friends are all leaving. They're going to Dubai. They're going to Spain. They're going to Portugal. They're leaving for safety because this country is no longer safe. Yeah. Why is it no longer safe? Because we've imported hostility. We've imported aggression. We've imported an alien culture into our...
And I can't see how you can turn it around. I think it's too late.
Country, which is not here to integrate or assimilate, it's here to dominate. And we're witnessing that firsthand. In towns like Luton,
hey Shawnee, welcome back.
In Birmingham, people can see it with their own eyes.
So why do I hear from most when in Whitechapel, Bangladesh? Many of them don't speak English. Many of them are on government benefits. No English? What do you speak? Why Bangladesh?
Well, Tower Hamlets is Bangladeshi. Luton's Pakistani. There's different immigrants for different areas. You've got Somali areas, Milton Keynes. You've got Indian Muslims in Leicester, which aren't as bad compared to some of the others. In fact, Bangladeshis aren't as bad compared to the Pakistanis. So when you grow up around all of them, you understand who's worse per se. But yeah, Tower Hamlets actually fraudulently elected their own Bangladeshi mayor, who then become in charge of £1 billion budget. Now, back in 2013, we had an organisation, we were fighting to try and highlight this problem. In the end, he was ousted. They got rid of him. The government were able to remove him. But when he became in charge of £1 billion budget, his first plan was to put £1 million sculptures of headscarves at the entrance to Tower Hamlets. He took all the money away from any moderate groups and siphoned it to extremist groups. This is what we're witnessing across the country is not just Pakistani politics, but Islamic politics, corrupt politics. Now it's here. Like the voting, it's all fraudulent, postal votes. Everything is happening in the UK, but the biggest thing for you coming from the United States of America, you're just looking at the future. Wherever you've come here and you're going to go back and show you the United States, don't think this is a million miles away. It's coming to you. It's already in your country. And you don't understand how quickly this is.
It's coming to the whole West, I agree.
Going to grow. And you don't understand how quickly they will gain power. And the power, not just the power, but I don't think people quite understand. You may think you're different. I don't think people understand the influence and the power of political correctness, just how powerful it is. The fear of being labelled a racist, the fear of losing your job, the fear. So you may think you have free speech. You don't really when social media is still censored. Many social medias are still under control, which is the debate centre of free speech. For so many years, the right or Republicans have been censored, deplatformed, and they've decided whose voices can be heard. Same as here. Same as here. But these problems that are here, they're going to mirror straight to the United States. You're 5-10 years behind us. It's all coming.
So I think I witnessed part of the reason why this happened in the UK. I spoke to an older white couple in Whitechapel. We were the only white people on the street, and I asked them, do you feel comfortable here? Do you feel safe here? Do you like it here? Oh yeah, sure. And I was like, well, are you cool with there being so many Muslim immigrants here? And they said, well, absolutely. UK, we conquered so much. It's time to give back. Is this a common mentality?
No, that's not common mentality. That's a weak, pathetic mentality. You need to go to working class Britain. You need to go to working class estates and speak to working class British people. You have to understand that there's two different countries. London's a different country to the rest of it. Inside the M25, think different, act different, and are different. Did you see anyone looking like me?
No.
See anyone who looks or talks or walks or dresses like me?
No.
No, you won't. Yeah? That's working class Britain. Go to working class Britain and speak to them about their view of what's happening in this country. Now, I'd say the reason why it's been allowed to happen, I'll tell you what I've done. In fact, how long are you here for?
Here for 3 more days.
3 more days, okay. So get a hidden camera, yeah? Right? Because I went to Republic of Ireland and I made a documentary called Plantation 2, Rise of the Celts. If you want to watch any of my documentaries, you can do them at trfilms.co.uk, yeah? We'll get that plug in there. They're great, okay? But I went there with the intention of showing the world how the women feel. This is what you should do, yeah? And I put on a hidden camera. And then I walked down the streets where Muslim migrants were and went up to English women where the migrants have been housed and just went up to Irish women and said, what's it like here now? I'm from England. And they're like, we can't walk the streets. We're terrified. I work there. My husband has to pick me up and walk me from A to B. It's all changed in 3 years. We're not safe. We're getting attacked. And then I'd say, brilliant. I'm a journalist. Let me just get the camera over. And then I'll start waving and they say, oh, I can't say that on camera. No, I can't say that on camera. And every woman, watch my documentary, every woman I approach tells the truth when they don't think they're being recorded. But I was recording everyone. They're all scared. It's all changed. They're all suffering violence. They're all intimidated.
But are they voting for it? Are these people that are afraid to speak on camera, are they voting for these policies?
9 million people voted in Keir Starmer. 20 million people didn't vote in the UK. That 20 million people is us. Yeah, that as in working class Brits, because we've been so.
We have to vote by law. If we don't vote, we get fined.
Demoralised with politics, distrust in politics, told our vote and our voice doesn't matter. We formed this organisation 2 years ago. The purpose of this organisation was to give back our identity, which we've lost, to understand that a void has been filled. A void has been filled by Marxism, communism, LGBTQ+, and Islamism. All these things have filled a void where Christianity has been taken. So our identity, whether you want to believe in Jesus or not, we're a Christian culture. It's our history. So we wanted to form an organisation where what I did is get together.
Okay, that's the first time I heard him mention Christ.
Influencers who have been sidelined, silenced, and deplatformed, bring us all together, which was 20 of us, and say, what do we agree on? We agree British culture's a threat here. How do we fight? How do we save it? How do we fight for it? So then we started putting on events, public events, where we focus on our identity. We have celebration in identity, celebration in culture. Rather than talking against things, we talk about us. We celebrate free speech. We stand against mass immigration. We stand against Islam. We agreed on 5 principal values that we all agree on. And then we come together for these events. We held our first one, it was 30,000 people. Second one was 100,000 people. Third one was 200,000 people. 13th of September was millions of people. We have now hit mainstream Britain, where the lies and the smears for so long, they had this country, which is pretty embarrassing, because I'd say we are the most fearsome fighting nation in the world, as in English men. We're known to...
Nah, Australian soldiers are the best fighters, mate. Sorry.
Boy, it's what we do. It's in our DNA. It's in our blood. And they have made us that weak that people, instead of fighting, are scared to even talk about it. Now, what we've always focused on, we need to remember who we are. We need to focus on who we are. We need to remember what our forefathers sacrificed and why they sacrificed. Why did they run into those fields? Why did they give their lives? What were they fighting for? They weren't fighting for the mess you've seen today in Tower Hamlets. They were not fighting for that. So what were they fighting for? And it's about time that we grew courage. And I think that we can give inspiration and courage by people seeing that they're not a fringe minority. They managed to let people think they were on their own thinking like this. And on the 13th of September, millions descended on London, and the whole world could see that the British public is wide awake. there's a cultural revolution happening right now in this country. We're about to announce our next event. We're going to have a Christmas celebration of Christmas hymns. Because Christmas, you know, when I led the English Defence League, there's so much going on in this country that is away from the Islamic immigration to do with an attack on our culture. Out of 360 councils, 6 councils changed the name of Christmas. They took the word Christ out. Winter Illuminations, Winter Festival, they're doing it this year. Now, I think if you go to the Christmas market in London, it won't be called Christmas. Going to Tesco's, they're not called Christmas trees anymore. Okay? So they're taking the word Christ out of everything. I had an organisation called the English Defence League. I wrote to the 360 councils and just said, our organisation, which is tens of thousands of us, young men, we will hit your city if you change the name of Christmas. And it costs between 500,000 to £1 million to police it. And that comes out of your council budget. Now, I got accused of blackmail. Google this story. You'll see the newspaper saying some blackmails councils. Good. Blackmail them. I learned from how the Islamic community operate. They threaten things. If you do this, we'll do this. And that's why the government continually pandered.
Let me ask you something though. You mentioned that the way out is to prevent all Islamic immigration. Now, I want to tell you about a conversation I had though in Bethnal Green, which was a British man tells me, we can't vote our way out of this because they're citizens and they're here legally. He was talking about, we were at a bus stop and everybody at the bus stop, their eyes just showing their eyes. You know, yeah. And he's saying, look, they're here legally. They've gotten asylum. So is it true? Like, how do you vote your way out if
we have 1.2 million British Muslims who want Sharia law? That's 1.2 million British Muslims that need their citizenship revoked. They need to go back to their place of birth or their parents' place of birth. They need to look at, they've all got dual nationality. They've got Bangladeshi passports and British passports.
They don't want to leave.
Well, they have to leave. If you want,
how do you get them to leave?
Well, if you wish to overthrow democracy and replace it with a extreme, violent, authoritarian idea of Sharia, you need to leave. And you can make it you can make their lives very difficult, which is what the government shouldn't do. Make their life difficult. But our government just agreed to extend benefits for more than 2 children. Well, that's the Labour government. Do you know who has more than 2 children? No, not us. English have 1.5. Yeah. So the Labour government have purposely brought in a policy that is to allow all of the migrants to have 5, 6, 7 kids, and we pay for it. And they've done that. What do you think they've done that for? Their vote. They've now got the Muslim vote because the Muslims can sit at home, not work. We pay for them. We go to work. They have 6 kids. They have 7 kids. We pay for it all. We're paying for the destruction of our country. We're housing the migrants in the hotels. We're paying for all of it. When you say what can be done, there's a lot that can be done. Once the Muslim community step out of line, try and enforce your backward ideology on this country, try and change this nation, try and attack Christianity in this culture, you're gone.
Hey, Osnaby, good to see you.
Have that be part of your political platform, and you need to be voted in based on that political platform. And I gotta say, being in Whitechapel, these Islamic neighborhoods, I don't see how you can win with that.
We can still win. We can still win across the country with that. If you look, we run out of time. By 2041, we're done. Yeah. By 2041, we can't win.
Yeah, it seems that way. Yes,
we can't win, and that's the same with Europe. So if you look at the Europe voting patterns now, whether it be Wilders, whether it be Le Pen's party in the next election, Swedish Democrats, all of the grand parties across Europe are the parties trying to address Islam. They're the parties because the public can now see. I started my activism in 2009. I went into Europe trying to highlight these issues, and no one wanted to listen. No one wanted to listen because they couldn't see it. Now everyone sees it, thanks to social media. That's the problem getting so bad.
But some of these sites are like, you don't believe it till you see it. So I went to, what's the pronunciation? Bethnal?
I was never here. We're going well this end of the story.
Bethnal Green.
We're going well here.
Bethnal Green used to be a tough working class. The history of that place is all of the old English criminals, gangsters. That's the home of boxing. It's the working class British London Cockney centre.
So the first thing I see when I arrive there is a big soccer match, a school soccer match, and there's about 20 kids all dressed in Islamic clothing. I didn't know what.
Okay, when the kids play soccer here, and the parents are Muslim, they get into a lot of fist fights on the sidelines. The parents do, and they get banned from footy for life and all that. But they can't even play sport without being hectic.
Country I was in when I saw that, and I saw the only flag that they fly, even in the nursery, they're just showing the Palestine flag, and the children are not Islamic. The children are not all of them are Muslim in the nursery. So parents are sending them to a.
Well, parents have no choice.
Sure,
So
I
the parents
understand.
are stuck, same as Luton.
I'm saying that their kids, the teachers, are wearing a hijab.
Yeah.
So these sites are difficult to digest.
There's no solution without chaos to this problem. There's going to be no solution for Europe without absolute chaos.
So what exactly is this chaos you're speaking of?
The chaos is that when you try to enforce the law against any Islamic community in Europe, you're going to see the countries burn. When
I was never here. I did get a new puppy. Moo died about a month ago, and the house was really silent and quiet. So we bought a puppy about 10 days ago. He's gorgeous too.
you see what Trump's doing now in America, you try that here. You're gonna have a war. You're gonna have a war.
Do you see any other solution, or only civil war?
No, because you try to enforce. Say our government banned the niqab, they won't be able to enforce it. I know that. In my hometown, Luton, they will burn the whole town. The police will be barricaded in their own police station. You need the military, and even then, they will fight. That's on the niqab.
Italy is moving to ban it. So they say. You think they're going to be able to do it?
No. France wasn't able to do it, was it? So they say. So they say. But what's going to be the turning point is when a government is elected to deport. Mass deportations is now part of vocabulary for the British population. It wasn't 2 years ago. Things have shifted that quick, that fast. The mood of the nation is changing very quickly. People are fed up. So mass deportation is what this country is going to.
Problem is, there's no other politicians backing him up, is there? We've got a Trump-like candidate from Queensland, and she's attracting other politicians now. And she's really disliked for a long time, but she screeched about multiculturalism and that, and now other senior politicians are joining her party. I don't think anyone's backed Tommy Robinson from the politicians. I'm not sure if they have.
Demand. Watch by the next time in the next election in 3 years, it's going to be screamed from the rooftops of every town and city by every member of the British population. People have had enough. Now, they were silenced, they were quiet, not anymore. Not anymore. Watch our next event. Our next event is going to be in the summer. I think millions and millions and millions are going to gridlock our capital city. Now, what are we going to be calling for? Remigration. Remigration. It's time to go home. Even say like the German population, they let in 1 million Syrians. Well, the war's over. The war's over.
Send them back, yeah.
Most of these people, if they've claimed asylum in the UK, are unlawful and illegal. Their economic migrants have come through 16 safe countries, which means any of their asylum applications should be revoked. Go back to France. Start there. Yeah? Start back in France. You were safe in the 16 countries you travelled through. You come here for economic reasons. You come here to bleed our country. You come here to drain our country, and you've not come to integrate or assimilate into this country.
So, are the migrant shelters still happening? So I bring that up because I Googled, refugee centers, migrant shelters, and I went to them, and it seemed like they were closed.
No, they're not closed. Every town and city has hotels. Every single town and city.
Okay, it's very hard to find them.
No, it's not.
Well,
I'll give you the locations.
Sure, you can't be that. I'm just saying for a normal,
for an
average person, if you Google, it's.
Oh yeah, they're going to hide it, but they hide it because now people are exposed. Well, I could give you a whole list of where they are.
It's just it was not honestly in New York, the major migrant shelters were relatively easy to find. You would Google migrant shelter New York City, you'd see them. There were some ones in the outskirts where, you'd see a Holiday Inn with the sign taken down and you'd say, okay, that's a migrant shelter. But they were more or less like the Row Hotel, the Roosevelt. These were on display. But I didn't feel that same thing here. I didn't feel like the big migrant shelters were easily findable.
No, they are if you know where to look.
Yeah.
They are if you know where to look. They're in every town and city. This is what's woke the population up over the last 2 years. Because even towns that don't have a Muslim population, the whole hotel's now been flooded with men. The men are coming out there. 25 sexual assaults against children, 12 women raped, a terrorist attack, murders, all from migrants in the hotels. They're the ones being housed in the hotels have committed these crimes. And bearing in mind, 90% of rape cases don't go to court. So if you've got 12 women raped. Mm-hmm. So when the riots were on after Southport, remember? There was a Southport stabbing of the 3 children murdered by Axel Rudy Cabana. In the riots aftermath, which our leader if you can leader can't even go in the same phrase as Keir Starmer. But Keir Starmer, who's in charge of our country, or meant to be, well, he come out and said that it was the far right rioting. What he didn't want to tell people in Tamworth, where people were protesting and in the end rioting about the hotel, Mohammed left the hotel and raped a woman. Okay, in Hartlepool, a Muslim left the hotel and murdered an old age pensioner. In all of the cities where in Rotherham attacked young schoolgirls. So in all the cities where the public come out and said enough's enough outside the hotels, those Muslims had left the hotels and attacked, raped, and even murdered British citizens. People have had enough. Our government didn't talk about that. They don't address that. They just call it all far right.
This country is paying for its own destruction.
Totally.
And what I don't understand is how is everything that you have said, how is that not enough to wake a nation up? What will it take, in your opinion? What will it take?
Well, what just happened in Israel would be, if that a similar attack like that would be the equivalent of 15,000 British people murdered. If that happened, our country's awake. If that happened, but I'll tell you what wasn't enough. 26 murdered at the Ariana Grande concert. The soldier beheaded in London, butchered and murdered and eating their dinner in Borough Market in London. The attack on the synagogue. None of this has been enough to wake the country up. What I will tell you is I've been involved in this for 15 years. I would say now the country's ready. This country is ready for real change. I think the government know it. Everyone knows it. Our figures, I don't know if you've actually watched, like, look, just so, and I'll send you this so you can play this in as we're talking. Just because they can downplay everything that's happening, yeah? This is a revolution. Okay. Now this is the start of the protest here. Yeah? That's the crowd starting there. Yeah. This has never happened in Great Britain. This is the biggest event this country's ever had. This doesn't stop. The media told everyone 100,000. They're killing themselves because we quote tweet this. 66 million views we had. Now on our event we had 64 million watching. Look at the crowds.
Wow. Wow.
This does not stop. It just doesn't stop. Okay. Look.
Wow.
That is millions.
That is millions.
Now the biggest protest ever in British history, with 250,000 people with the Iraq War, and we hear all about it all the time. Yeah. That the country's awake. No funding, no finance, no support. We brought millions to the capital city. Yeah, without coaches, without organisation. That is hard-working people making their own decision. That is a cultural revolution, and it's happening right now.
Were there a lot of people in that march that were living in central London or living in London, or was it mostly from outside?
There'd have been some from London, but they come from all over Britain. It's called Unite the Kingdom. Yeah, they come from all over Britain.
That march that you did was one of the few times I've seen the last few years where London looked like London.
I know.
But when I went to in London for a week, there are times where I think I'm in Ukraine. There's so many Ukrainian flags. I'm not sure which country.
That's about evil.
And the trans flags, gay flags. It's just again, it's very tough to know which country you're in.
Yeah, but that's the same. You can go get on for a train. You go get off a plane in Berlin. Go get off a plane in Paris. Yeah. Any Western European nation, Sweden, Malmo, any of them, you won't know where you are.
Yeah.
You won't know, and is that what we want? Is that what we want? Is that the future we want for our countries? And it's got to boiling point now where people have had enough.
So a lot of the times stories of a young girl being raped or murdered, it seems like people just almost like getting desensitized.
No, we are desensitized. Totally.
Yeah. And just recently I saw a clip. It's nothing like that. It was just a woman. She's having dinner with her friends. And these Tunisian migrants who have been in London for 1 month come under her chair, take the purse, and it's all calculated. They did it in teams. So one of them covered her line of sight. The other one kicked it out with his foot out of the chair. And they've been in London for a month. It would seem like they're not here to do good. They were sentenced to prison for 18 months, but without a deportation order, which I would think would anger a lot of people, but it doesn't seem, I don't know.
No, because none of them getting deportation orders. None of them.
Yeah,
no
why?
Why? Because the government don't care.
in our system, if you do more than 12 months and you're here on a visa, well, you know the ones that come out here when their parents are like, and they're like 3 years old. Well, if they're not signed up to that visa or whatever, however that works, they get 12. If they do more than 12 months in jail, they get deported back to their country.
The government have not had
After 12 months.
the drive, the want, or the courage to deal with this problem. And the easiest thing continually, because it's all bullshit numbers, it's all flooding the country of migrants to keep the fake money bubble going, to keep their GDP, to pretend that the country's successful when we all know it's not. Yeah. So they are continually flooding this country. Now, that's not just this country, it's not a mistake. You see, you've solved your problem by voting in Donald Trump. If you didn't vote in Donald Trump, exactly what you're seeing now would be flooding through your borders now in their millions into your country. Unskilled, uneconomic migrants coming with crime, coming with disease, coming to violently commit, coming as terrorists, would be flooding your nation if you didn't vote for Donald Trump. Now, the difference is not one single European country has elected a leader that is willing or brave enough to tackle this. Because when you want to be brave enough to tackle it, I'll tell you what they're going to try and do. They're going to try and assassinate you like they did Donald Trump. Because the globalist plan to weaken the nation, to break down the state, to desensitize, to demoralize, to feminize the men of the nation has been a well-orchestrated, well-funded operation for 50, 60 years. Yeah, Donald Trump's got in the way. Right now, I think that through Donald Trump, you're going to have a growth of European leaders who are ready to fight. And to be honest, I'll tell you straight again, this country's ready to fight. And it hasn't been. And I can tell you now, I thought I was banging my head against a brick wall for a decade. I was thinking, what is it? All we ever heard about was when that British lion wakes up. When the lion awakens, everyone better be ready. Yeah, I'm telling you, the lion's awake. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I know we need vote. We need democracy to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but to get those politicians into a position where they're brave enough, you need the influence on the street.
Yeah.
When you see millions on the street, trust me, because Nigel Farage are all shifting their politics.
Mm-hmm.
Nigel Farage was against mass deportation 12 months ago. Now he's for.
Mm-hmm.
Nigel Farage wouldn't talk about these issues. Now he's talking about them.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is? It's not because of anything other than he's seeing the presence on the street. He's seeing the growth of our movement and the influence of people in our politics and the effect we're having on the public. So we had an idea. When we set this movement up, 20 of us come together. They said, we can try and start a political party now. Yeah? We can try. We're going to need hundreds of millions of pounds. If we change the culture, we change the politics. We can actually shift the culture through a well-organised effort on the streets, through culture, through celebration, through identity. We can do that a hell of a lot quicker.
Right. So right now, Farage, he has on the prediction markets. I checked Kalshi today. It was like 24% chance of winning. And
He's winning.
so my question is, the woman who had her purse stolen, here's how I would think about how it would go normally, is she has her purse stolen by Tunisian migrants. She says, okay, we can't do this. She tells her friends. Her friends are like, okay, we can't do this. But that must not be happening. Because, well, I guess because I'm saying, like, in New York, we have a similar thing in the States where it's suicidal empathy is what the term people use.
Yeah.
And it's that it seems to be that England got into this position because women like that who had her purse stolen, I can't speak for her, I don't know what she's voted for, but it seems like you should have a chain reaction where people say enough.
That's where we're at, Bob. I'm telling you, you watch the next election. Ignore what they're saying about 24%. You watch the landslide. I have my finger on the pulse. Before my last event, I told everyone millions are coming. Biggest event this country's ever seen. Yeah, I sense it because I walk the streets. I see the reaction. People who didn't like me now like me. People who hated me now are on side. That moment of this person tells that person and tells that person, and people putting up with it, it's there. It's a bursting point. Yeah. The country's ready. The country's ready for real political change. The country's ready. People are ready, and they weren't. And so Nigel Farage, unfortunately, I think Nigel's weak on a lot of the issues. Maybe he's playing it really cleverly. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah? I think he's weak on a lot of the core issues that we need to address. But he's a hell of a lot downside better than any of the others.
I want to go back to the Islam thing for a moment. So I had a conversation with a store owner who he came here legally as a student, and I asked him, why are so many Muslim people coming to UK, and why did you come to UK? And he said,
UK. So the main thing, UK have a lot of Muslim community here.
Yeah.
So UK, I might be UK have more than any other country to have a lot mosques in UK?
There's about 14 mosques in Whitechapel that I counted, about equal number of churches. But it seems like Islamic life is very much based on availability toward mosques. Like they're consistently building new big mosques. Who's funding
Qatar and Saudi Arabia.
And
And then whoever funds it dictates which form of Islam is being promoted in it. Qatar own Barclays, own Harrods, own the ports in this country. They pump £750 million into radicalisation in Europe. Qatar are a big problem. Qatar need ended, as in their influence needs ended. The influence they have over our politicians in our capital city, in the money and in infrastructure and the economy, needs ended. The Muslim Brotherhood needs ended. Trump's just made a great move. We need to make it here. We've been crying out for this for decades. They have such influence. You're right about the influence. The Wahhabis, the Salafist mosques. No, I went for a meeting, 2013. I was leading the EDL and Bishop Tom Robinson, same name, of Pontefract. They called a secret meeting. And it was with us as leaders of the EDL, and it was with Diabandi clerics. And the gentleman we were meeting had just been preaching at the Golden Dome Mosque in Jerusalem. So, and when we met the church leaders, we met in a church in Oxford, and the church leaders said, MI6 see these guys as the future leaders for Britain. I said, these guys, yeah, Diabandis. Do you know what Diabandis are?
No.
They're very orthodox. All of them will wear niqabs, and they're radicals. They're radicals. They may not be planting bombs, but they want the same as ISIS. They want to overthrow democracy and replace it with Sharia. They have the same end goal. They've just got peaceful means of getting it. But it still needs stopping. We've got to stop them. So when I sat down, I said, okay, so these Diabandis are the future of our country, are they? And then when I sat down, I said, the bishop's there, the vicar's there, all the church are there, then all the Muslims are there. And they just said, tell us what's wrong. So I said, I'm going to tell you straight what's wrong. And I went into one about what's going on where the Muslims are from, because they're all from Dewsbury. You're raping our women, this is happening, converting our women, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, what are you not actually doing? What are you doing as a church for us? What are you doing? They goes, well, we have diversity days. I said, you have diversity days? Yeah. I said, tell me about your diversity day. He goes, well, at Christmas we had a Christmas meal. Us, the church groups and the Muslims together. I said, did you have wine? And he looked. I said, you didn't have wine, did you? I said, you had a Sharia compliant Christmas meal, you mug. I said, this is the problem. You're surrendering everything. Your culture, everything that you hold dear, you're giving up for them. What would they give up for you? Fuck all. To do with their religion, nothing at all. They won't budge. You're budging every time. You're budging every time. You're weak. You're pathetic. And they don't respect it. See, I grew up in Luton. I grew up with Muslims. I know all the gangs. I've grown up fighting them throughout my life. There's only one thing they understand, and that's that.
Yeah.
They understand strength. They don't just understand it. They respect it.
100%.
Their mindset. I know how they think. So when they see cowards and politicians bending over and flapping at their feet, they're laughing at them.
Yeah. Well, look, I know you said that Islam has no place in the West, and I know that a lot of people, obviously in the UK, are going to see it as bigoted, that almost like play a scenario in your head, which is like, well, what about a brilliant young kid from Afghanistan who can be a great engineer? He should be able to come here. I think a lot of people worry about blanket bans. They worry about that.
So say here, in this pot, there's 100 biscuits, there's 100 sweets. And in this 100 sweets, 2 of them, you swallow them, they're going to kill you. Are you going to pick a sweet out of that pot? Are you going to eat one?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. So why should we? So why should my daughter have to take the risk of 100 of those men? When you look at the statistics and the demographics and the crime statistics, why should my daughter have to take a risk of 100 of those sweets? I don't want my daughter to touch them. I want them gone. I want them out of here. Sorry, before I smash the place up. I don't want them here. So if my daughter should not have to take that risk, yeah, why should any of our daughters? It's not a game of monopoly. It's not a game of roll the dice. Let's just roll the dice for Britain's future. Let's bring 30,000 Afghans in like Joe Biden did. Yeah, well, 2 of your soldiers have paid their price yesterday. Go and tell those families it was worthwhile. Go and tell them. Go and sit down the mother who's just lost her son or the child who just lost their parents. Because that's what's happening here. They're raping their way through this country. And I'm sorry, he might be a nice scientist or engineer. Well, let's find a scientist or engineer who's not from an Islamic country. It's not hard. And they will integrate and assimilate properly because unfortunately, the test is already, we've seen it. It doesn't work. It's not my fault it doesn't work. It's not the British public's fault it doesn't work. Because you know what? Sikhism works. Hinduism works. Judaism works. All those other cultures have come here. They all work. They've all integrated. They all assimilate. Some of them have their own close-knit communities, certain Jewish sections, certain Indian sections, but they're not raping. They're not selling heroin. Look at the crime statistics in the prisons. They're not overrepresented. They're underrepresented. In fact, they're overrepresented in success, in education, in schools. They're flying.
One of the things Avant takes very seriously is
So this podcast is not sponsored, and instead I'm going to tell you about something that we've been working on for quite some time. This is the very first look at the Friedman Files, dossiers on the paid protesters that we've been exposing for close to a year now. You'll see them at more protests than you can count. You'll see their violent ideologies that they spread and the stories behind their arrests, all in one centralized location that you can look at and share. Go to natefriedmanshow.com/FriedmanFiles or scan the QR code to get a special discount. The link is also in the description and the pinned comments. And now, back to Tommy. The 24,000 Afghan migrants that were brought in for £7 billion. Where does that money go? Because that's a lot of money for 24,000 people. And obviously Afghan, we know what.
Well, I think the 24,000 is going to become a lot more, isn't it? They can all bring more family members.
So where's the money go? Where's that money going?
Probably to backhanders. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Who knows? But that 24,000, we already know, are 22 times more likely to commit rape. So some of those 24,000, just like the 30,000 you received.
Bobo, what you haven't realised, Christianity's much more exciting. I thought it'd be boring, but it's not. You've been with us for a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks now, and you thought about Christ more than any time in your life. And we don't get here preaching. We just get here and share what we know and have a bit of fun. So you are slipping in under his clutches a bit.
One of them murdered 2 people yesterday, right?
One person's killed, and the other person seriously injured.
Is that worthwhile as an experiment? Is that American life? Is it worth it, losing it? Because those 30,000 will bring nothing positive. That's the reality. Even if half of them positively integrate, doesn't matter, because the other half ain't going. They're going to rape. They're going to commit crime. In fact, I just shared a thing earlier when I was digging through the news stories. Just to say that this wasn't like, to anyone who follows what's going on. To anyone who follows what's going on, this didn't just happen with regards to your latest terrorism.
Okay, Shawnee, good night.
Afghan evacuee charged with rape in Montana. Governor says demanding resettlement halt. 2 Afghan refugees staying in Wisconsin arrested for trying to rape child, strangle woman. Driver exclaims, "I should have served with fucking Taliban," moments before fatal traffic stop shootout with police. Former Afghan diplomat charged with rape in Virginia. Now, this didn't happen like that in America. So that killing yesterday, all the warning signs have been there from the previous Afghans you've already taken. Now, you're such a big country. You're such a huge nation that someone needs to put the dots together. Yeah. But when you start putting the dots together, you'll realise those Afghans you brought in, they need to go. Somalians, they need to go. Okay. You want a safe, future, prosperous Christian America? Someone's going to have to tackle this problem. And unfortunately, again, I know in the United States, the influence of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the money, the business, someone's going to have to tell the truth. Someone's going to have to say how it is.
Yeah. Well, with President Trump's last tweet, he said that Tim Walz was retarded for letting in hundreds of thousands of Somalians. So it seems like the rhetoric has...
Only because you got Donald Trump. It's only because you got Donald Trump. That's it. You know, Donald Trump. If Obama, you could say it was Obama, but it was Obama, wouldn't it? But if Biden or Kamala would have won, do you know when you voted to save America, that wasn't just a vote to save America. So I hope you know how much we relied on that, and how much we rely on the hope that gives us, because hope is contagious. Hope is something that gives you the chance. We've got hope because of who's in power in the United States. We've got hope because of Trump, because of J.D. Vance, because of Elon Musk. And that's why we're ready.
Speaking of Elon Musk, do you want to say a quick thing about how he's impacted your life?
Elon Musk has brought me from the gutter, lifted me back up. I was censored, deplatformed from everywhere. Not for any crimes. I've never been committed of any crimes to do with hate or racism. I was just deplatformed and censored for telling the truth, warning the public. Everything I said and was warning about was now being proven as true. Elon Musk has helped me. I recently had a terrorism trial, charged with terrorism, and I got not guilty, and the judge ruled that it was a politically motivated, targeted case, a previous case,
Is it?
Yeah.
both of which Elon Musk supported and helped fund. If he hadn't done that, if Elon Musk hadn't stepped in, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know if I'll still be alive to this. My life was coward. So I owe Elon a lot. A bit of public owe Elon a lot. This country owes Elon Musk. So I don't think Elon Musk will be remembered for flying rockets into Mars. I think he'll be remembered for saving freedom of speech.
Obviously, I follow your Twitter, and I saw that you had just come back from Israel and Poland. What were the things that struck you the most about those two trips?
Poland doesn't have any problems. Poland's a beautiful, clean, safe country. Lowest crime rate, lowest rape rate in Europe. Why? Because it hasn't had Islamic immigration. It's protected its borders. It still has a sense of identity. It still has religious belief. It's very Christian, very Catholic. So they haven't lost their identity in who they are. Hasn't been bred out of them. The men haven't been feminized. They're not all running around with rainbow flags. It's not been destroyed. Israel, the same. Strong sense of identity. They know who they are. I sat at a table with 20 lone soldiers. A lone soldier, someone who travels to Israel on their own, no family there. And sitting with those young men, they are all aware that there's something greater than them. What's greater than them? The Jewish state, the home of the Jews, for these kids. Yeah. They've come to sacrifice their life on their own, to be willing to fight for something greater than themselves. In this country, we all think the greatest thing is us, individuals. We have created a generation of selfish cowards. That's what we've created, where no one actually really cares about the country or community. Everyone just thinks of themselves, just us. Whereas when you go to places like Israel, it's not about yourself. It's about the country, which is how we need to get thinking again. So I had a fascinating time. I got a lot of backlash. I got a lot of stick, a lot of the usual bullshit accusations, but I don't really care, if I'm honest. I see Israel as the forefront. I see Israel. I went to Israel in 2015 to see how they live, because I knew how they live, we're going to have to live. And when I went there, I saw the bus stops, all bollards everywhere. And we didn't have any of that. We had freedom here. Now, go to a Christmas market. While you're here, go and get some food, yeah? Bollards everywhere, armed police everywhere, fortified. But I saw that in 2015 and realised that's our future. We're going to need this, because they were doing car attacks then. So they weren't doing it in Europe. Now they're doing it. Yeah. So I went to experience how they experience it. How do they deal with it? To ask the questions. Joe, I met a senior ranking politician. And I went into his office. Yeah, a very senior ranking politician. And on the wall was a map. And he drew a line. He said, "You see this wall here? Israel built a wall here. If they didn't, Sudan and Eritrea would have replaced the Israeli population. Yeah? We built a wall. Your politicians aren't doing anything." So I went to listen to, because there's so many accusations against Israel. I went to listen to, all of their politicians were very concerned with what's happening in Europe, concerned with the culture change, the attack. And when people say it's Israel flooding Europe, yeah, purposely.
That's true, isn't it, Di? The technology is equal to the last days now.
With Muslim immigration, this is what some.
That's true. Like the mark of the beast, that's going to be technology. So you're right.
But that my detractors say they're flooded. Why would Israel, a country this big, why would they want the future of Britain, Germany, and France to be controlled by Islam? If those countries controlled by Islam in the future, because they say is the goal, that means their military is controlled by Islam. It means their nuclear weapons are controlled by Islam. It means Israel's gone. Reality. Yeah. If every single Western nation in Europe becomes Islamic, then that's not just Afghanistan, Pakistan. You're now dealing with superpowers who have got arsenals of weapon and military. So it doesn't make sense. The whole argument doesn't make sense. But I went there to ask lots of questions, to see how they deal with it, to understand, which I think the public need to understand. Because you see, I feel here, living in Luton, from Luton, I feel surrounded. I feel surrounded by Islamic problems. I feel surrounded by terrorism, So when I went to Israel, I realised Hezbollah on the northern border. I don't know how many people realise 50 to 100,000 soldiers on the northern border, ready and waiting and trying for a decade to plan a ground invasion. Houthis, Hamas. I don't think people really understand what it must be like to be standing there and surrounded by 100 million, 60 million, 80 million. We've only got a small population in Israel. So I went there to experience all that. Had a fascinating trip. Yeah. Come back unapologetically. I totally side with the state of Israel and the people in Israel. I don't give a shit how many people that upsets. Because anyone who's accusing that or beating that, do you know I listened to these Americans, just going back to America, right? Tucker Carlson. I've got Tucker Carlson on the video yesterday talking about he has more in common with his Pakistani taxi driver than he does some white middle class American. Yeah, what do you know? What does Tucker Carlson know about?
Okay, so Tucker Carlson's a sellout to the Muslims. I wondered why everyone was mad at him.
Living in a Pakistani town. 50% of my town's Pakistani. You don't know nothing about Pakistani taxi drivers. What we do, we're beaten up by my whole growing up. Our daughters are abused by them. Our wives are harassed by them. Yet you pretend you know something. What do you know in the United States of America about growing up around Islamic immigration? They all talk about, well, the Muslims and the Christians are together. Yeah, come and say that in Europe. Come and experience that in Europe. We're not together. They're not with us, you clowns. But I listen to all these new right-wing commentators talking just because they hate Jews or hate Israel, saying we need to work together with the Muslims. Yeah? Come and speak to people who live with Islam. It's infuriating. I'm watching, like, even Tucker Carlson thinking, what do you know about Pakistani taxi drivers, mate? What do you know? Do you know who's ferried all of our girls around in every town city? In Rotherham, Telford, Oldham, Rochdale, Birmingham, Bradford, Leeds, every city where our daughter's been raped. Who ferried them round? Pakistani taxi drivers. Tucker, your mates, who you'd rather hang around with. You know nothing about this subject. So don't try talking about it just because guitar are in your back arse, because it's pretty infuriating. Yeah. And I see that so much coming out of the United States. I'm looking at it thinking, you don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. You live in America. You're not plagued by Islamic rape gangs. You're not surrounded in a town with 50%, with 45 mosques. You've got no idea what you're talking about. So don't just start talking about how we need to be, we're all friends and Muslims and Christians are together. You tell that to the Christians in Afghanistan. Tell it to Christians in Pakistan, the Christians in Iraq. Go speak to the Christians in the Middle East. Go speak to the Christian population, which has gone from 20% to 7% in the last 20 years. Why? The real genocide happening right now in Nigeria. No, they don't want to talk about that. What I want to talk about is Jews. It's pretty infuriating. Because there's a Jewish population in the UK and they're not raping no one.
In that same interview, Piers Morgan and Tucker talk about how, well, no one should hate Islam because hating Islam is this you could be hating Jewish people. Hate of all kind is wrong.
They don't have to hate Islam. Islam hates us. There's 100 verses in the Quran that tell them to kill us. Don't worry about us hating Islam. Read what Islam says about us. 70% of the Quran is about how to treat non-Muslims. Of course we should have an opinion on that. Muhammad beheaded 600 Jews in one day. He raped, he pillaged. Well, of course we're going to have an opinion on that. Well, no one should hate nothing. It's like, mate, they hate you. Piers, you mug. Yeah. They hate non-Muslims. And per se, not every, I'm not saying every.
And if the Muslim if they get in charge of the government, like, correctly and take over the presidency and all that, Tucker Carlson and that, they'll be thrown in jail, in Muslim jails for collaborating.
Muslim, yeah? Because I grew up in Luton. I met some great Muslims. But they're not great because they're Muslim. They're just good lads. If they followed the Quran to the word, they go fight for ISIS. Do you know we had 4 times as many British Muslims went there to fight for ISIS? So bearing in mind, we've had 60 years we've had a Muslim community, 60 years. In a 3-year period, 4 times as many British Muslims went to fight for ISIS in that 3-year period than had joined the British military in a 60-year period. We have a problem, yeah? And it's not hate. It's not us, okay? It's not us, right? For highlighting and telling the truth. Unfortunately, the truth hurts some people. Unfortunately, people don't like hearing this truth. Unfortunately, people like saying, oh, do you know what I mean? But the same people who don't like hearing this truth, yeah, they don't live with it.
Why is it okay to want more people that look like you and to have the same values as you? Why is that?
It's okay because if Nigeria become a majority white nation, it would be wrong. If Japan become a majority non-Japanese nation, it would be wrong. When you look at Chinese parliament, how many non-Chinese people do you see? When you look at Russian parliament, how many non-Russian people do you see?
None.
When you look at our parliament, you see Muslims everywhere. Now, you're right about other migration as well. It all needs to stop. We have had too much migration,
Yeah.
whether it be Indian, Sikh, whichever, Hindu. We've had too much, okay, of all of it. But if you address the migration, then the birth rate of those communities is not going to replace ours. So you can deal with it. But if we deal with migration, we've still got to deal with the Islamic birth rate, because through the womb, Colonel Gaddafi said we will take over Europe without firing a bullet. We'll do it through the biggest weapon we have, the woman's womb. Now, it's not a mistake. 7 children they're having on average in France. We're paying for it. But to the people who feel like that, we are a majority white country. We must remain there, or it no longer ceases to be Britain or England. The culture disappears. It changes. There's 1,000 years of English, white, Christian history.
And why does that matter? Why does that culture matter?
Why does it matter? Because that culture is Britain. That's our culture. Why are we going to give it away? Our forefathers fought in wars, in battles, sacrificed, bled, died, suffered, tortured, everything to protect our culture, our identity. Our culture is the most superior. Let's stop pretending all cultures are equal. I have this debate when I had it with journalists. I said, well, Islamic culture, we go live in an Islamic country then. You think it's so great? Well, a woman is a property of a man. Bullshit culture. We are the most superior, advanced culture in the world, which is why everyone wants to come to our country. There's 50 Islamic nations. Go there. Why don't you want to go there? Because they're all Sharia-driven shitholes.
With Whoop, gain insights into how you train, sleep, and recover.
But the people that are getting, these young people that are getting a 6-pound coffee with like 12 pins on their backpack, they don't. I know that they don't. Well,
now
there's a lot
there's
of them,
you
but
see a lot of them in the posh little London. But what I mean is, there's an awakening happening from working class Britain that's coming in every town.
I understand, but I'm saying that those people, it seems like convincing them through this idea that their ancestors had fought for them and that Britain had fought for them. Obviously, I get it, but I don't think that is going to hit a nerve with them.
No, they just need to know the truth about Islam. We need to stop hiding the debate. They need to know who Muhammad was. They need to know his crimes. They need to know his views on women, his views on homosexuals. Most of them are liberals. And I'd say most liberals are good people. And they're liberals because they're loving people. But they think all cultures are equal. They think Islam is just like Christianity. Jesus was just like Muhammad. Now, Jesus said, turn the other cheek, and Muhammad said, cut your bloody head off. There's two vast differences here. Yeah? Two differences in ideas, in everything, in ways of life. And Islam is not a religion. It needs to stop being recognized as a religion. It's a total controlled way of life. It needs to stop being given the same recognition as a religion. The last thing they do in a mosque is pray. A mosque is a command and control center. It's there to command and control the entire community, to change the community, control the community, to Islamize the community. Where do they start all their wars from in every Islamic country? Where do the wars start? From the mosque. Okay? People just need to understand what Islam is.
Yeah, but these people, liberals in the UK and United States, it's a very similar mentality. They don't want to paint with a broad brush. It's the last thing they want to do, and I think they're willing to die over it.
Well, they're going to have to die over it anyway, because they'll be getting killed by the Muslims. Like the left who aligned with the Islamists in each battle, whether it be in Lebanon or in Iran, they were killed straight away. They aligned with them. You're never going to convince a staunch Marxist communist, because they're aligning with them for their political ideology. They see Islam as the biggest weapon to help overthrow the state, because they want to destroy the state, to break the state down, to start again. So you're not going to convince them. But the do-gooders, the decent people who are just trying to protect everyone, lovey-doveys, they're going to realise at some point that Islam's going to bite them on the arse, or bite their daughters on the arse.
So I don't think any of this could have happened without the education system changing a lot. So I went to Whitechapel and these other Islamic neighborhoods. I spoke to students that were about in high school, and they went to private schools where they dressed up in Muslim attire, but they were private schools. They weren't public.
Madrasas.
Are they teaching about Islam in public schools, or is it just in private schools?
And in public schools.
In public schools.
They're not teaching the truth about it. They're not teaching facts about it. They're teaching that Islam means peace. It doesn't mean
They
peace.
teach that in public schools?
Yeah, my kids went to school and they come home. My kids, all they were hearing about was Islam. My kids. all they're hearing about is Islam. I don't mind if they're teaching them truth about Islam, but they're not. They're teaching them this lovey-dovey version of Islam, how Islam means peace and everyone's beautiful and oh, Islam's great and you pray this way towards Mecca. No, Muhammad beheaded people. Tell my daughter when she's 9, Muhammad married a child her age. Tell the kids the truth. But they're not touching on any of the truth. They're basically downplaying and bastardizing all of it, weakening the reality of what Islam is. To lie, they're lying to the next generation of children. They're confusing them, they're indoctrinating them. And in those madrasas you're talking about, they just learn the Quran all day. I know girls that went to those madrasas. My mate went to one of those madrasas till he was 11. He had to leave and come to our school. He had to leave because they started teaching him his dad had the devil in him. His dad was black. His mum was a black Muslim Kenyan and his dad was white. They started teaching him his dad had the devil in him. Those madrasas are a massive problem because so many Muslim kids are not even in the British education system anymore. They're just in these madrasas, learning the Quran 7 days, every day of the week.
So they're teaching that Islam is a religion of peace. Do they teach about Christianity or Judaism or?
Yeah, but not as much. So they take it to the mosque from the age of 6. The kids are taken to a mosque at 6 years old in every school across the UK. Every school across the UK, national curriculum, they bring all the children to the mosque.
Wow.
The girls have to cover their arms. They're not allowed to bring a ham or pork in their lunchboxes to school that day. They want you to pay. When my kids are at school, I've got a letter, yeah, it's going to be £2, they're going to the mosque. What are you talking about? My 6-year-old child was bringing them to a mosque. I basically, when they said in my kids' school, I looked up the mosque, looked up the history, went on the website, looked up what they're teaching, and just sent it to the school. We can take our kids there. What do you mean you're taking our kids there? But again, it's national curriculum. It's all about diversity.
When did this start becoming part of the national curriculum?
10 years ago.
Right, so that's what a lot of people are confused about, myself included, which is that we felt in the States that you blinked and this invasion happened. We did not feel like it was this slow burn, but apparently, like you're saying, 10 years, it's been a while.
No, the mass immigration recently is something different to what we've always had. So my hometown, Luton's always had a massive Pakistani community the whole way through growing up because they controlled everything. The whole way through growing up, they were brought in legally. Like, don't forget about the 50,000 coming on the boats. 1 million were brought in the year before. 1 million legally were brought in the year before. They don't leave. Whether they're coming on bullshit student visas, wherever they're coming in, they don't leave. None of them leave. None of them.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of a misconception about Muslims being.
There's just too many you could do about it, though. How are they going to listen to Britain? It's overrun by them. How are they going to get rid of them?
A minority.
They haven't got a Trump-like politician ready to do it.
I feel, I don't know, like
That's the biggest weapon they have.
there's 2 billion Muslims and there's about 2.5 billion Christians. That's not a minority, right? What started this?
This started 1,400 years ago. This war, which is what it is. So when I find it quite funny when they talk about Israel, I think you had started in 1948. What are you talking about? Even I've just been to Poland. In Poland Central, there's a statue which is from 1683 on September the 11th, which was the Polish hussars. Were they called hussars? Who was when the Ottoman Empire was prevented at the gates of Vienna from the total onslaught and destruction of Christianity. What was happening then? Jihad. The same that's happening now. How many jihad battles have there been? It's gone on for 40
I watched that battle on War Histories in Vienna.
years. There's 45 countries where Islam's gone as a minority and then overthrown the country. Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, they're all Christian countries. What happens to them? What's happening now in Nigeria? They come in small numbers, they come peacefully, and then they get to a certain point and start dictatorship. And that's what they're doing now at 6% in the UK, across Europe, France. No, get ready for when it's 20%. And the point is, I've got 3 kids. Our job as English men is to protect and preserve a safe and prosperous country for the next generation. That's our kids. Simply being weak and not telling the truth, because everything I'm telling you now, people may not like hearing it. If you're watching this and you don't like hearing it, it's facts. It's all facts. It's facts. Muhammad was a barbarian paedophile. It's a fact. That's not my opinion. It's all from Islamic scripture. He was a warrior. Islam is a religion of peace. You know that phrase?
I hear it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, try and find it before George W. Bush. You won't find it. It was never said in this. No, it was never said. No, I went through the books. Try and find anyone saying it. For my book I wrote Muhammad's Quran, Why Muslims Kill for Islam, which was putting the Quran in chronological order. Because the Quran at the minute, when you pick it up, when Gladstone picked it up, when Churchill picked it up, who both told the truth about Islam, because there were no Muslims here. Gladstone held the Quran above his head and said there'll never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book. This is a violent and cursed book. He said that in Parliament. He wasn't talking about an interpretation of the book. He was talking about Islam. Churchill said Islam and a man is like rabies and a dog. Islam has the power to bring Europe back to the Dark Ages. Individual Muslims can show great traits, but when they come together, society goes backwards.
Yeah.
They believe they're only women. All these things are fact. These are what our previous leaders knew. Yeah. Why? Because when you used to pick up the Quran, it used to be in chronological order. Why is that important? Because of abrogation, when Muhammad says one thing here, whatever he says later in his life supersedes what he says earlier in his life. So the peaceful verses in the Quran are all at the start. Because in the first 10 years of Muhammad's life, he was peaceful. He had 300 followers. 300 followers. Then he brought in rape, war, pillaging, rape, murder, torture, everything, kidnapping. He found his winning formula. And then he swept through the world of the sword, and they haven't stopped since.
What I'm trying to figure out next is voting. So I spoke to one man outside of mosque again who barely spoke English, but he repeatedly told me that he was a citizen. He told me that he took the test.
Hey, Ross, good to see you, mate.
I don't know if he's telling the truth. Is
Probably.
he telling the truth?
Probably someone done a test for him. It's probably all done for him.
Does that happen?
Yeah, everything happened. Everything's fraudulent within their community. Everything.
I spoke to a British man who said that, I said, are you worried about Sharia law coming here? He said, oh, it's already here. They're keeping it on the down low. What exactly does he mean by that? Because I did ask him, he said, well, if you call the police, if you see...
Police don't come. Mm-hmm. Police don't come. Muslims sort it out themselves. In the Muslim areas, they don't call the police. They sort it out for themselves. They have Sharia tribunals, councils, and that's how they deal with things.
Right. One of the things I saw at Whitechapel was it was only one group of police. It was two.
Is it on the side of Sharia? Sharia, it says on the side of the mosque and go to the Sharia building.
Okay. So there was two policemen. I saw them once every hour or something like that. But what I did see a lot of was these security guards with these vests. You know what I'm talking about? Like some park security or something like this. I don't know, but it just seemed like their own.
They had Sharia patrols going on in London, which was groups of Muslims patrolling the streets. If you're gay, they're with you, holding hands, drinking alcohol. They'll come and confront you. They'll stop you. You shouldn't be doing that here in this Muslim area. But you see what happens is you just get battered. So if you're drunk and you're walking in a Muslim area, you get battered. If you're a woman, you get harassed, sexually abused because you're not covering your hair, you're wearing a short skirt, you get terrorised or raped. If you're gay, you get violently attacked. Look at the rise in Tower Hamlets where you was. Go and have a look at the statistics on the rise on homophobic hate crime. Through the roof, all the gay clubs are gone. They're all closing down.
Yeah, and in those areas, I see the people running for mayor, wearing a hijab. In the UK, at least in the United States, you become a citizen, you can vote. It's the same thing here. So you become a citizen, you can vote. So are they voting in droves?
No, they vote in a military fashion. They bust them to the voting polls. It's all organised, which is what Labour intentionally have opened the borders for. They bring them in, they know they're loyal voters. They're happy. You see the people you're interviewing, they're happy to be relying on the state.
Oh, yeah.
People outside the mosque, they don't work. They don't want to work. They're quite happy taking the state money and sitting there having 7 kids.
And what about these markets that I see popping up everywhere where it's like they're on the street,
Like
they're on the sidewalk? Are they licensed to sell stuff there?
They get away with everything. So they can set up illegal markets. They had them in Manchester for a decade. They used to have all these, and when the police would come, they'd all warn each other and they'd all shut down quickly. But the police would very rarely go. They get away with selling fake stuff, stolen stuff. They get away with everything. The police do not police their communities like they police other communities. Now, other communities, if you put a sign out on I'll give you an example. There's a Finnegan's Cafe, black man in Luton, a well-respected black man, had a cafe called Finnegan's, and he put a sign out on the road, just on the pavement, saying Finnegan's Cafe down here. The council come, harassed him, fined him, threatened him. So he went and videoed, and he went to the Muslim area. He just videoed the whole road, where all of them have done it.
Yeah.
And he said, how are they not getting done? Because the police are too scared, because if they went in there, they'd all turn them. They can't police it. So then they get away with everything. Parking tickets, everything. They get away with everything.
Why don't they police it?
They're too scared, because they'll come out and riot. They'll come out and violently attack them.
They're scared of being killed, like the police are scared of being killed.
They're scared of provoking the peaceful community.
Interesting.
That's it. That's it. Now, the best thing for a United States audience is that you've come here. And everyone who watches this, don't think this is a problem a million miles away in Great Britain, because this problem is now in your backyard.
Yeah.
You either deal with it now, or you end up like this. And when you end up like this, it gets so bad and so severe that no one knows what to do, like in Great Britain now. You're at a crossroads. The only answer people see is civil conflict, civil war. You ask them, the majority of the population believe we're heading towards civil war. The majority of the population in polls believe we're heading towards civil war. Now, at some point, people start then preparing for civil war. Yeah? It's a natural thing. So, who wants that for their country? Who wants it? We want freedom. We want love. We want community. We want cohesion. You're not going to get that out of Islam. It's just a reality. I'm sorry. It's just a reality. So wake up, America.
Is there anything that you'd like to share with the United States audience?
Just that don't believe the media in anything. We have now created our own media. Our saying is we are the media. Choose a gentleman like yourself. So I'd say to anyone, support anyone like this. Support any free citizen journalists. Mainstream media are the cancer. We are the cure. But to an American audience, just get ready.
Anyone who really cares.
Okay, guys, I'll finish off with Israeli News Live. We haven't watched them for a while. Did it load? Please let it load. Yes, it did. Channel. Boom, 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 boom. And yes, we are live. Look there. Gosh, I wish we still looked that young. On our way. Okay. Anyway, so we are here on Vincent's site there. Quick protest. A Catholic church will start Noahide classes on January 27, 2025.
He's asking you to email them. This is Vincent Bruno's site. I have done a lot of interviews with Vincent in the past. We have done.
Yes.
We kind of don't have the same opinions on many things, but I have to tell you that Vincent is very comprehensive when it comes to Noahide laws, and I would say probably the most comprehensive website.
Yes, for the
So if
information.
you want
pertaining to
information
that-
on
to that.
what's new in Noahide law area, that's the website. And how you get there, www.
Stop noahidelaw.blogspot.com.
Yes. So anyway, Steve, I don't know, he must have this, usually has a link there.
Oh, for his website?
No, sorry.
Oh, to look at the same thing deeper?
Yes.
Okay, so it's got on here, sign the petition, quick protest. The St. Louis Montfort Catholic Church in New York is going to start holding classes on Noahide law January 27, 2025. Their email is below. Please contact them and tell them what you think there. Let's see, understanding the Noahide law is a foundation. This is what they put out, a foundation for everyone, young and old. All are welcome. Beginning Monday evening, and of course the same date again, classroom across from the chapel at St. Louis Montfort Church, Sound Beach, New York.
I would go to this class if I was in New York. I would, because I
Just
would
to see what they're up to.
Yeah, and I would ask questions. So if you are in New York, please, and you can attend it, go attend it, just to kind of make videos over there, what they're talking about, because I would like to kind of listen and then directly confront them.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Because Catholic Church did sign agreement with the Jews of Jerusalem about Noahide laws.
Yes.
That they're going to teach their flock Noahide laws.
Wow, I never knew that. The Catholics have been taught Noahide laws. Wow.
And for the longest time, it was quiet, kind of. But now look what they're doing.
Exactly. Making it very plain that it's coming.
Yes.
And definitely on the way there. By the way, too, the interview I did with Liz on Freemasonry, we're actually going to re-record that. That's going to be airing on Patreon, but we decided to re-record that broadcast there, so it'll be about another week before we actually release that. So just wanted to update you guys on that, what happened.
Anyway, Trump's inauguration prayer given by a rabbi with a PhD in Noahide law. The prayer had Noahide buzzwords.
I guess they didn't say out the word Noahide, but everything around it, probably peace and justice and one God.
Let's
and,
take a quick peek
you
at
know,
it. Oh, look
no
there.
site can be reached. You kidding? Why?
Well, I thought they have here video or the prayer.
Yes, and he has a PhD in Noahide law.
I know,
Rabbi
but you see what I'm
PhD in
saying?
Noahide
You
law.
can't even get to that prayer now. That's kind of odd.
That's
So,
probably, they are trying to hide some. I mean, they're not hiding it from a rabbi's point of view. They're extremely open right now. They're telling you out very openly that this is their agenda for future. Okay,
Right.
but when it comes to Trump and Christians, evangelical,
Phil, I used to play him a long time ago, but I used to play that Asas Fatari. Not that long ago, probably 12 months ago.
and leaders, they're trying to hide it from the flocks that it's actually about Noah.
I got you.
And I don't know why, but I guess I know why. That
Because
would be
you
an
stirred it up
outrage.
so much.
That would be an outrage, right? Well, I think there should be an outrage. I mean, we should definitely be on the lookout for this. This is like walking into a trap, walking into a suicide. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
You know, I'm working right now. I've been working on it for several days since I sent you that little message so you'd remind me to look at it. And I think I have finally put together what the scriptures are. You're going to be shocked to find out why the Noahide laws are really coming. It's almost prophetic, and it has everything to do with the rejection of Jesus Christ. Can you imagine?
And it
that?
will fulfill Luke gospel where it says that we will be betrayed by our own inner faith, because this is what's going to happen. They're going to be betraying each
You're
other.
gonna have to send me that one too, because I didn't even think about that, but I gotta find where you're talking about on that one. That's interesting.
And what's scary, because when we look at political situation, and honestly, I'm so sick of politics that just to keep my mind sane, I don't even look at it sometimes. I have days that I just refuse, but problem with this thing is that, of course, Trump is better than Biden, right? Of course. I mean, who likes Democrats, right?
Well,
But
all right, wait a minute. Now I understand what you mean. I do.
there's a little more
That's your
hope
point.
with
Yes,
Trump, but it's
economy-wise,
a trap.
yeah, that's where the
It's a
problem is.
trap,
That's where
right?
the problem is.
Right.
I mean, really, the only difference is for a little while they appease the Democrats, and a little while they appease the Republicans. They still have the same agenda.
Well, they both support the Jewish state. They both give them money. They both are signing Noahide laws on yearly basis with 10 rabbis, Chabad rabbis around them. So that way it doesn't matter. Trump is better for maybe, American people
Basically,
like their sovereignty, their economy. They like to be leaders of the world and free world and all these good.
Yeah, Di, we all watch the same channels, don't we? Because they're the good channels, the correct ones.
Yeah, like this type of thing.
Yeah.
So, of course, Trump is better for that. But there is a side of Trump, and it's a side that he won the Kabbalah war, that his son-in-law is a Chabad Jew, that his daughter has converted to Chabad Judaism, which is probably the head of the snake.
Yeah.
And he is just doing everything for Israel, anything for Israel. And even though he says now about this Gaza deal, right? He's saying he's going to stop all wars. So we all want to hear this, right? But then look at what they did to Gaza. Look at the genocide. Look how everybody just accepted it. Nobody really cares. Christians have accepted it, right? And now Trump is having words like, oh, Gaza has the best location.
Okay, I'll tell you this. I don't care who destroyed Gaza. I'm glad someone did.
At the beach.
Oh yeah. Now they're looking at prime real estate.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Look, it's no different. Look, you guys are moaning and groaning when the fires burned down Los Angeles. And everybody's talking about BlackRock is coming in and buying up property, prime real estate. They burned us all out. You moan and groan about that, and rightfully so.
Yes.
What's the difference in leveling Gaza, but they did it with bombs? In this case here, no regard for life whatsoever. And by the way, Billy, brother.
Okay, that's ignoring the fact that they've been shooting bombs and missiles in Israel for years. Wow, this guy, I'm not so keen on this guy.
Billy sent me a photo from Los Angeles his friend took with the blue laser coming down.
Whoa.
And at first I didn't show it, and then Deborah Tavares on the program with us, which Deborah's coming back on again here. I think Friday is when we're having her on, and Deborah was talking about the blue lasers, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I'm like, this is really the real thing, right? It's nuts, but that's what they're doing. They just wipe the people out, so they can have prime real estate.
Exactly, because they have plans from a very, very long time ago. See, they don't plan. It's not a 5-year plan like communists used to have. I was a little girl in a communist country, and we always had these meetings where they showed us 5-year plan, and meetings as far as school meetings, they kind of always involved children in communism, and they would show Soviet plan, 5-year plan. This is like they plan, and I'm talking about decades, 100 years ahead.
Yes.
They have or 30 years ahead.
Yeah,
And they have
they're
this
way
plan,
ahead
and then
of
they're going by the plan. So that's what's going on here, that Gaza, you will see what they will do. Trump is saying now that it has the best weather, it's the prime location. So it just tells you they want this now with this Silken Road an initiative. They're going to rebuild the Middle East, Greater Israeli Project, and they're going to make these beautiful hotels there. And who will own them? Well, Kushner.
Yeah, and by the way, another reason for them getting rid of Gaza is right there at the very tip of the northern part of Gaza is the Ashkelon port that the Chinese are building. They hadn't even started that project yet. That is for the Silk Road Initiative.
Phil, I'm with you there. Gaza wouldn't have got wiped out if they didn't try their little tricks all the time. They brought it on themselves. I agree. Palestine's been offered peace. Something like 20 times they've agreed to it, but they've always backed down at the last minute. That's because they get all this money, donations for the war against the West. They don't want peace. They want the money.
Need to expand space. They need place for warehouses.
Okay, listen, time to come out of closet for Trump. Why does he want Greenland?
Yeah.
Or whatever that
Oh
is.
yes, no, not just Greenland, but he wants.
Trump's son-in-law lives on 666 Fifth Avenue. Is it Fifth Avenue he lives on? And he's in building 666.
Canada. He's talking about Canada being one of our states, right?
He wants a Panama Canal.
Right.
That's for
Okay.
security.
Is anybody? How many people are asleep at the wheel? Right. I hear this now, and today on John's program, they're talking about this becoming a state, and I couldn't get a word in there because I had to go remote. I was losing signal. I was trying to deal with so many things this morning because the weather's so cold. And so John knew that I was going to have these problems at the time. But anyway, they're talking about it, right? And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, has everybody fell asleep at the wheel?
Yeah.
Did they forget about the
North American Union?
Yeah, the North American Union. Canada, the United States, and Mexico all become one big happy family, like as my wife said, the European Union.
Yes, and they already printed the Amero. And when did we talk about this? 10 years ago?
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. The plans are made decades ahead. It's not.
But with Trump does it, it's like, hey,
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Right. Because he just knows how to.
Wait a minute, I thought he was going to deport all the Mexicans back to Mexico. Actually, it wasn't even Mexicans. I don't want to fault the Mexican people. They're wonderful people and everything.
And
it wasn't Mexicans coming across the southern border. It was Middle Eastern guys, and I'm not trying to beat up on them either, but they were coming here for a different purpose. Chinese were coming here, everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and
But it's
he's
okay.
bringing-
We're going to be in a marrow.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Maybe that's how they get rid of our debt.
They have planned it and they're going by that, and they have to lie to people, like they have to lie about October 7th. They have to lie. They're using religious language to persuade Christians in America, those who are completely blind and can for themselves politically, right? That killing all the Palestinians is a good thing in the name of God. So
That's sad. I still,
Yeah.
even today, I
Right.
was hearing, and it just curdled my blood to think
and
that
then
these people have no right to life.
no, and there will never be justice until Christ does the justice.
Hey, you boy.
But the thing is,
Netanyahu made Hamas. He made the organization, created the organization. They're really, by the way, this is the Muslim Brotherhood that Obama started. They're not even, most of those guys that were part of Hamas are not even Palestinians. They bust the guys in.
and not to mention how many Christians are there, and then they destroy Christian churches. They destroy Christianity, and that's okay with American
And
Christians.
Israel is doing that. They did it in Lebanon. What did they do? Blow up churches, mosques. They didn't care. Mainly churches. They were wiping out churches everywhere they go. I'm talking about ancient, even their entire. And right there in the Lebanon's town on the water there that had been destroyed years ago, they're out there leveling it. They level it, one of the oldest churches in the world, right there entire. Israel has no regard whatsoever. And we even saw Isaiah 17 literally come to pass before our eyes. It's taken away from being a city. And the fortress for Ephraim, which was the last great president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad. Now, I'm not saying the man has got some white robe, so cleansing feet, but I guarantee you one thing, he cared about Christian people. One of the only leaders in that country that cared about Christians was Bashar al-Assad and his wife as well. So anyway,
it's all
sorry.
just a theater to get to their plan of one world government. And,
Busby, you want off
one
down?
religion.
Buzz,
Out
come
of
on.
Jerusalem, and out of Jerusalem.
Busby,
it will
come
be
on.
All about Judaism, the only religion, and for the Gentiles there will be no Noahidism. That's it.
Come on,
one
Mike,
thing I
come
want to
here.
say too, a lot of people now are
Hey.
talking about Noahide laws, and
Come here,
we're
little
so
buddy.
happy for that. But one thing I want you guys to remember, and we're going to talk about this at the end of the broadcast here. My wife really, not the first one to bring it up, but she's the one that really got through her research, made the Noahide laws become such a thorn in the side of the New World Order that they come after our family to take us out. And my father-in-law, he paid a price for something he had nothing to do with himself. Our son is doing an amazing job on exposing this. I shared the other day a little bit of that video there. I'm going to put it in the link for you again. We're going to show a clip of what he's doing there. He's very articulate, and we're talking about a young man, 21 years old. He's not afraid to get the public documents and all their discourse between each other. And when you see the evidence that he is putting together, it is a shame on American judicial system. A absolute shame. We've already been
Shame
hearing
on
this
doctors.
on doctors as
What
well.
can happen to you? And if you don't speak up, like with us over this, then if it happens to you, nobody will speak up for you either.
By the way,
So
I haven't put the video up
just-
yet, but I do want to let people know if you go to Fact News Network, it's actually on iConnect and it's on our website, israelinewslive.org. My wife did an interview with Dr. Liz Thompson, and she is a pharmacist. She's many, many years as a pharmacist, and she really goes into the medical treatment that Carrie Madej prescribed. I was shocked because, according to Dr. Farr, who is the basic founder of peroxide IV therapy, he is the pioneer of this treatment. Carrie Madej used 84 times greater than what he did. I won't say too much here because I don't want us to get flagged on the channel here. But it's an amazing interview. It's on Fact News Network, the 30
It's amazing we have survived, Steve. I mean, people don't realize what we went through as a family, but it's really difficult on me because it was my father. And of course, unless it's somebody you love, it's hard to really have empathy and understand and put yourself to other person's shoes. Maybe that's why I literally cried nights for Palestinians, Steve, because I know how it feels when somebody murders your loved one in front of you and then you don't get justice for it.
And they will never get justice, sadly enough, too.
So it is very, very difficult.
And living.
These guys are on Palestine's side. I don't think I'll be watching him again.
To live that way, that's really difficult. So that's why please share the video of my son, because we are never going to stop for honor of my father to talk about it or seek justice.
Right. And you'll see from that interview there the details of all the crimes that were committed. All the doctors are spoken about there. So
he's about to, but he just the first video, he's about to explode it and show all evidence.
Yeah, here we go. It happened. No hide law in USA public schools. Vincent, you did a great job putting this together here.
Well, now they're getting brave. You know how in schools you can't talk about Jesus, Christianity. And I know because I used to work a few years back at the high school. I was teaching biology, and I just there's no way you can talk religion of any kind. So how did this rabbi get his foot in and started talking about two children about Noahide laws in public school? So it's kind of so weird. Let's see if that video is still up there. Chabad just kind of boasts about.
Is there a problem if I said one of the 7 is to believe in God? Is that something you're not allowed to say in a public school?
No, that is not true.
Okay, I shared with them that they don't need to be Jewish. They should just be a good person. And had all the kids together say, just be a good person. We learned about the 7 laws of Noah here.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
And again, when we're looking at diversity and inclusion, man, we have to understand culture and why, just like we learned about the Quaker.
Geez, check that thing out. That's the weirdest looking person I've ever seen. Wow, look how weird it looks.
If I stood up and said, you all have to believe in God, that might be an issue. But if I said, Judaism believes that as long as people believe in God and are a good person, that's good, that would be fine.
That would be fine.
Right.
See what I mean? I mean, they
got
just
a loophole.
Yeah, they're just
Be
getting
Jewish.
in there.
They should
And,
just-
the Chabad organization, it's a mega cult, by the way. It's a mega cult.
Try going in there
Yeah.
and say that about Jesus.
Yeah, try that.
I challenge you, right?
Yes.
I challenge you. Go in
That's
there
it.
and say, you do the same thing he did.
Yes.
Say, as Christians, we believe in Jesus, but we
And
just want you to be
he's
a
God
good
in
person.
flesh, and let's see if we can do this. And
Oh,
yes, in public schools.
Yana, I tell you what.
Isn't that
Okay,
horrible?
let's see what this other one is.
It's just
Absolutely, it's in the door behind me.
I'm here at the Leeds Avenue School. We just had the opportunity to teach about 80 third graders about the holiday of Hanukkah. That's how many kids that I spoke to were Jewish.
0.
So why am I
And you
teaching
also have Muslim students.
Muslim and Christian?
Yes.
So why did we teach them about Hanukkah?
Because it is part of our curriculum. And it is infused into language arts, social studies, and as you see math, or multiplication with numbers.
I'm sure it's in.
So is
And
there
also took time to
infused
teach
with
the
language
children about the
studies?
7 laws of Noah, and I shared with them that they don't need to be Jewish. They should just be a good person. Why should someone who's not Jewish learn about Hanukkah?
The same reason why we all learn about each other's cultures is about, as you said, Rabbi, being good people.
Is that your dad?
That's my dad right there.
Dad is like a foundational member of our shul.
Okay, foundational member of a shul, and Vincent brought out that he has this weird Muslim hat.
Yeah. That is actually, though, also one in Judaism.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
it
So
is.
he brought him
It
into
is actually more the people that normally wear that particular traditional garb. And I can tell you why, as a black man, why he's wearing that. They believe that there is a movement that they believe that they're the original Israelites.
Okay.
And so from the Jews from Northern Africa, which my father was a descent of, and also from the Middle East, that is a very traditional garb that they would wear for their kippah, you would say, or head covering. It's only the Ashkenazi that wear more of like a moon top, like the Catholic Church does.
I am sure he didn't tell the children, by the way, you don't keep the law in our traditions, you're supposed to die by beheading.
Yeah, and that was definitely not included.
Right, exactly.
But did you notice, though, Judaism comes underneath this nice little heading of culture.
I know. It comes under the heading of everything, religion,
Uh,
culture,
listen,
everything. But Christianity is always.
Why not have
pushed away.
Christianity as a culture then? What's wrong with that? You know?
No, you can't. You can't talk
No,
about Jesus
you're
because
right.
you're going to insult the Jews. What if there's Jewish students there and then you can't? See?
Okay, so just for the record here, we are Jews protesting on let's not say that. You know, I'm just
Anyway.
All right, here we go again. Argentina news site says President Javier Milei has a Noahide background.
Well, the reason I brought this out is that Argentina has a Jewish president, and it's kind of really strange. He's a Chabad organization Jew, and he is leading Argentina, and Jews, Israel has a very big interest in Argentina, okay, and the entire Patagonia as well.
Right.
I mean, if you do research on this, it's really big. You would have to have like a separate study on this because it's very weird, but watch out because they are putting presidents in those countries like Ukraine, Zelensky. Oh, he said he's going to make out of Ukraine Israel. So it goes beyond this greater Israeli project. See, they're trying to actually gain the countries, control of the countries,
exactly. Yes.
by putting in Jewish presidents in formerly Christian countries.
If they take and they make this North American Union, as they're going to do anyway, it'll make it easier to bring about Noahide laws as a whole.
Yes,
and totally bypass all.
Well, tell us what the actual Noahide law says for Christians. You haven't even told us that yet.
These presidents.
Yes, it's what's coming is absolutely insane, and people have no idea that they're aiding this. The Christians are aiding this by their support and their wrong theology. They're, they don't think when they are citing Bible verses, they're just like parroting what their preacher tells them without thinking.
You know what I really like, and this is it's
Good night, Phil. God bless.
I'm sitting there looking at Milei, right? I'm
Yeah.
thinking of Stephen and Joey Milei, two very good friends, very good brothers in Christ. Italians, Milei is an Italian name, and they have been Italians their whole life. Their family was Catholic, but then they became born-again Christians and later in life. But when Steve Milei did a DNA, he said they had a little tiny percentage of Jewish in him, and I loved his response. Oy vey. It was like a curse for him to find that out.
Anyway, that's funny. So you're bringing up something like that. But anyway, did I prepare anything else? I didn't remember.
That was it.
That was it. Okay. Well, we said it's going to be.
Okay, I'm out of this one, guys.
Even secular historians have talked about how the effects of the gospel on the cultures and societies of the world has done more good for the world than any other ideology or religion out there. But this is what I heard from the Lord on October 6th. Hey, y'all, this is Roy Black. So God gave me a prophetic word way back on December 9th of 2024. So it's been around a year since I heard this, and the Lord asked me to wait to share it, and I'm recording this word actually in October, and so you're probably watching it a little later than that. But
4 days ago,
the things that I received in this word have actually been taking place this year, and I'm going to be showing you some of that as we go. But this word has to do with the halting or the pausing or a temporary fighting against the new Babylon, which the great Babylon is found in Revelation 17. And I talk about that and reveal what the new Babylon is and, go into a deep dive all about that, Revelation 17, in my new book, which is actually called The Mystery of the New Babylon. So if you want to grab a copy of that book, you can find out how to do that at the links below. But we're going to jump right into this word. This is December 9th of 2024. I saw a vision from the Lord. And I will say this, y'all pray about this. I always encourage people to test prophecy. 1 Corinthians 14, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, say we should test prophecy as believers, so please do that. But I saw a vision of a space shuttle taking off, and then I saw the pyramids. So strange imagery being mixed together from the Holy Spirit. Then I saw a large laser and similar types of weapons lined up and pointing in one direction. So the Lord is talking about space travel. He's talking about probably things like what Elon Musk is trying to do, things like that. The pyramids obviously connected to ancient deities, which were false gods or demonic spirits, attached to secret societies, attached to the agendas of the evil one, played out in history. But also, many people believe the pyramids were attached to even things like electricity production, things like that. And then obviously pointing in one direction, that means this is a one world agenda that the Lord's talking about here. All these weapons. And then I saw a close-up of an automatic weapon being fired, so it means danger, right? Then I heard this. The Lord said, I'm hearing my people cry out during this time. He said, part of what could be called the modern-day Babylon regime is toppling. So the Lord is talking about this new Babylon in Revelation 17 that we have not fully seen the full rise of yet. But he's saying, as they're trying to build this, there has been a stumbling block. There's been a halt to the work, right? And it's been happening in 2025, and I'll show you a few of those things. But he said, I'm making restitution to God's people to an extent for various reasons. What are you talking about? Well, I believe he's talking about one thing, some of the political narrative that has shifted this year, some of the political victories we've seen. Now, and I'm not saying everything that comes from, the conservative culture is good or right. That's not what I'm saying. But God is definitely working in the political scene. And some of the things, this is the impression I got from the Holy Spirit earlier today to share, some of the things that we've seen happen this year, especially with the leaders in place right now, they are happening so that the end does not come too quickly, and so that the gospel is still able to be shared in large around the world, to the nations of the world. Because God wants all people to come home. God wants everyone to receive the gospel. And at least as of now, the U.S. is positioned to be able to do that, to be able to share the gospel, but we don't always take full advantage of that as Christians here living in the States with all the rights and privileges we have. And this is what the Lord said. He said, look up Isaiah 2, and you'll see the reason why. He said Revelation 12 and 13 as well. And now I heard this way back on December 9th. Revelation 12 and 13, there are certain events that have taken place this year that have to do with both of these things. Very crazy stuff. And the Lord said he would show me a little bit more at a later date. And God gave me a word on October 6th that has to do with this that I'm going to share in a second. This is Isaiah 2 through 3. It says,
are you suffering from thought? Thanks to you foods, there's one symptom you don't have to worry about. Meal prep. Scrummy.
Looks like cardboard.
Mobile reception isn't going to fix the car, mate.
Our business mobile plans give you flexible 5G Australia-wide coverage from $25 a month. Aussie broadband. That's the actual easy way.
What do you want to be when you grow up? An explorer. I would buy a really big caravan and then I would take off.
It says, now it will come about in the last days, the mountain and the house of the Lord will be established as the chief of the mountains, and will be raised above the hills, and all the nations will stream to it. And many peoples will come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, so that he may teach us about his ways, and that we may walk in his path. I'm going to stop right there and finish in a second. But even secular historians have talked about how the effects of the gospel on the cultures and societies of the world has done more good for the world than any other ideology or religion out there over the last 2,000 years. So part of this, now there's a lot of different applications for this prophecy from Isaiah, but part of this is fulfilled in literally just the gospel going to the nations and cultures being impacted and shifted based on the effects of the gospel working on people's hearts, and then the principles that are applied to things like government, society, family structure, all of that when God shows up. When God changes the person's heart, those effects being played out. But also the scripture is talking about the gospel going forth to the nations in the last days as well. And it says, for the law will go out from Zion and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. This is verse 5. Look at this. Come, house of Jacob, and let's walk in the light of the Lord, for you have abandoned your people, the house of Jacob, because they are filled with influences from the east, and they are soothsayers like the Philistines. So what is the warning? Live in the world and not be of it. Yes, we're seeing a rise of the new Babylon. Obviously, I talk a lot about that in my book, and I show the beginnings of that in the world today. But what did Daniel do? Did he run away from Babylon when he got exiled with some of God's people? No, he became the best version of himself with God's help that he could in the midst of Babylon. And God used him as a prophet in that foreign land for the benefit of God's people, his people, but all people as well, to pull the hearts of the heart of the king, the hearts of the leaders, and the hearts of the people of Babylon back to God for a time. And God's doing the same thing today. So the answer is not to run away. It's not to escape. The answer is to become who God has called us to be right here, right now, where he's planted us. And that's why this word says, come house of Jacob, let's walk in the light of the Lord. This is a word to us today under the new covenant too. Revelation 12:1 says, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of stars. And she was pregnant, and she cried out, being in labor and pain to give birth. Now, a lot of people talked about this, the September 23rd rapture date, which the Lord had already given me a word about that, saying that it was not true, and that people were running with a theory, and over-promising on that, right? And saying some things that were not true. But the funny thing about it is God gave me this word about Revelation 12, which is where this sign, in the heavens, this sign is found in Scripture. In Revelation 13, he gave me that word back in December of last year. And yet this year, people used Revelation 12:1-2, and this supposed astronomical sign with the constellations and all that to say, well, that's evidence that this is being fulfilled, and that's why they thought Jesus was coming back in September, right? And so it's funny that the world is looking at that scripture as a sign this year. And what is it truly a sign of? Well, it's a sign of the fact that people are doing what Jesus said when they said, don't listen to them. When they say, there's the Christ, he's out in the wilderness, let's go see him, or he's up on the mountaintop. He says, don't listen to them. And he says that's going to increase in the last days. So is this a sign? Absolutely. It's just not the sign that people thought it was. And this is what it says in Revelation 12, verse 11. It says they overcame him, talking about the devil, the enemy. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of their testimony. And they did not love their life even when faced with death. But look at verse 12. So is there persecution ahead? Yeah. But where should our heart be? It should be centered on the love of Christ. We get to be filled with the Holy Spirit. And look what we get to do. It says, for this reason, rejoice, you heavens and you who dwell in them. And then it goes on to say about the devil, he has only a short time. What does this mean? It means we are walking in a place of victory. We've been seated with Christ in the heavenly places, and the devil is desperate.
I've never watched this guy before.
Desperate. And a lot of times it gets painted the opposite, where it's like, okay, look, here's all these things happening in Revelation and the mark of the beast, the end times, and we got to be scared of all these things. And we do not have to walk in fear. 1 John chapter 4. Walk in the love of Christ, and we have the assurance of the Holy Spirit. We have nothing to be afraid of. But also the Lord keeps telling me that this is not time. Like there is a longer timeline than a lot of believers expect. Now we're getting close, right? The Lord has given me words about that. Again, go test these words with the Lord and with Scripture yourself. Please do that. But at the same time, we need to be aware what the Holy Spirit is telling us to do. And the Lord's saying, hey, strategize, plan for the future, plan for the next generation to get saved. Don't give up. And just because you're getting close. And what else did we see this year? Well, Revelation 13 was the other passage God gave me in December. And it talks about the mark on their right hands or on their foreheads. And it talks about people not being able to buy or sell with the mark, without the mark, right? And we saw the digital ID thing blow up in the news involving the UK this year, 2025. It's crazy. The same thing happening. It's just another sign of we're getting closer to the end. And we're not there yet, right?
I saw something on YouTube. Australia's going completely cashless. I didn't see a timeline, but the plans are afoot now.
But this is what I heard from the Lord on October 6th. This is what the Lord said. He said, they were building a weapon using the systems that were already in place. Things related to Palantir and the international agreements between nations rising to the top over the last couple of decades. I believe some of those international agreements between nations. But then he said, yes, some of those strategies have been toppled in the last year because of the political narrative shifting and certain people coming to power.
Nudge him out the way.
So there's this rise of the new Babylon. There's this rise of Babylon the Great. And the systems are becoming in place, the agendas, all those kind of things are coming together. And the Lord says some of those building blocks have been torn down over the last year because it's not yet time. And there's a season of growth, I hear the Lord saying, for my body, for the church, for my people, so that I can affect more and more in the days ahead with the gospel message. Because I'm calling to all people to come home. Because I don't want anyone to perish. Man, I hear the Holy Spirit saying that so clearly. So please.
Bobo, read the last book in the Bible, Book of Revelation. That has dragons in it. It has everything in it. So that'll be interesting to make you look at other ones, hopefully. But Book of Revelation is probably the most interesting one, in my opinion.
Let's pray about that. But I'm presenting that as a prophetic word. But that's what I heard the Lord say. He said strategies have been toppled in the last year because of the political narrative shifting and certain people coming to power. Then he said, I'm using it as a reset right now so that the end will be pushed off, pushed back, so that more people can come in to hearing the truth. And man, my heart, and I'm praying that this is our heart as believers, is Holy Spirit.
Okay, guys, I'm out. See you tomorrow.
What do you have for me to do with the time that's left? Whether that's 20 years, 50 years, 10 minutes, whatever it may be that I have on this earth, Lord, what do you want me to do? May we be led by the Holy Spirit and walk in truth with grace.